I keep promising myself I'm going to head over to the Bretz cottages at some point. But between the rain today and the fact that it's kind of chilly, and I'm going to tell you right now, these rocks aren't exactly the most even to be walking upon. It's a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to be. And I'm also running the risk of getting pretty wet. And it's everything's blowing in and making a bit of a mess. You can see for yourself just how the waves are coming in. This isn't exactly a walk on the beach, quite literally. But if you don't mind my looking down every so often, actually more often than not, I'm going to try and make my way there, however slowly it's going to be. It is a little ways off. In a nice sandy Caribbean beach, this would be easy, but it isn't, and it isn't. And I almost regret wearing my jeans at this point, but what am I going to do? These little ponds up here are deeper than I expected them to be. All right, now we're back up here, a little bit flatter and slightly drier surface. I mean, it's all pretty much wet, but that's because of the rain earlier today. In fact, it's been raining the last couple of hours. Every so often I'm trying to decide whether to go and pick Daniel up from the general store where he's watching this or that. And I know he has this one stream that he listens to at this hour. It should be wrapping up about now, but, you know, I just leave him to it. I make a point of being out of the house by 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, or I guess that would be 12 noon here, and go from there. All of which is a separate story that I'm not really a part of even. All of which happened after you had to go. So, got a stick in my sandal. Once upon a time, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but just to sort of get everybody else that might be watching this over your shoulder up to speed, the Faye cottage, the one that we've called home away from home since 2007, was just somebody else's house, somebody else's property that we didn't try to venture onto. We'd go out swimming from the Bretz cottages and we'd head down the shore for a ways. And you often would say something about how you wondered what living in that place was like. Now we know what it's like, and it's just a matter of me making a record of it for posterity. My goodness, this is getting more and more complicated as I go along. The thing is, this area has gotten a little overgrown, frankly. Can't imagine why anybody would want to live on North Bass when Middle Bass is already so near to being private. There's nothing here. I wonder if any of the cars that were abandoned on this island and that Jim Bretz used to just kind of roll off the edge are still around here. Because there's really, once he was in that accident and passed away in the convalescent home a couple of years later, I don't know that anybody's done anything with the property. We went back there maybe in 18 or 19. I think we were swimming much like this, but I couldn't tell you for sure. We might also have walked up the old path that we used to drive, but that were overgrown with stuff. You and your dad would point out the scrapings on these rocks behind me that we just crossed, and how they're done by supposedly glacial action. I know glacial action sounds like an oxymoron, but supposedly they would just, as the ice age was coming to an end, they would basically scrape down the limestone and left these tracks on the edge. Not sure how that would happen, and I don't know that I'd have the time to do so, because we're talking maybe over thousands of years. In any case, I may have to turn off the camera because this is going to take some doing to get around. Okay, maybe that wasn't so tough. Although it might be a little difficult to get down from this rock in a moment. Yeah, I know, you're going to tell me that I'm causing you to miss out on the best parts. But I assure you, this is not exactly safe to do by oneself. I mean, it won't kill me if I fall I'm gonna say 2 feet, but to do this while I'm holding onto the camera can't do my chances much in the way of favors. Well, we have a find here. I told you about those old cars that Jim left behind to use as a breakwater. I found one of them. And it's not the only one. There's one further on. And yes, that was the point of these things. And if I remember what you told me, these were meant to stave off erosion on this part of the island, so as not to threaten the property that he had. All right, I think I've gotten past the most troublesome part. Of course, I'm gonna have to be dealing with that again on my way back. Woo. I'm still kind of dealing with it now, but at least this rock helps me balance and get purchase. Oh, man. My goodness. It really is something. And yep, here's another car. And another, and another. And in fact, I think I remember, I don't know if it's this one or one further down, that we once brought cans of green spray paint, thinking that, okay, if these cars are gonna be here, they really ought to just kind of blend in with the surroundings. And we thought we would just paint one of those cars. Honestly, if I find one, I think there's some markings of green spray paint on the door here. I don't know if this is the one that we actually really went to town on. Well, it probably is, although apparently the paint has gotten faded on it. The one here isn't really showing any of the painted metal anyway. All right, I think we're making some progress. We've gotten through most of the large flat rocks, and we're coming on to the beach section that you and I really used to call home. Shortly after we got married. Not that we came here on the honeymoon, this was you coming to meet your folks, because this is where they would go, drive all the way here from Macomb, which is an amazing length of time, especially considering how long they had to drive just to get to the turnpike. in the first place. Okay, here's one that we definitely painted over. And it's right near the stairs, I think, or it's certainly nearer to them than any other. So we've left our mark here. And it's still here 20 years later. Oh my gosh. Honey, you're not going to believe this. This is a day early, but here it is on the Bretz cottage. You left one of these behind somehow the first year after you were gone for me to find the day of my birthday. And now here I am finding one for you. I don't know if you were celebrating early, what time zone you're on. I don't know that they have time zones up there, but I think I'm going to bring this back with me. Oh my. This seems to be what's left of the Bretz dock. All the concrete has gone, disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, it used to be filled in there. It's not like it could leak out once it's solidified. I'm very puzzled. But it is not here anymore, that's for sure. Okay. All right. I found the steps leading up, and I'm going to take these somewhere. What it's going to lead to, I know what it used to lead to, but we've got to find out now. These steps have really decayed over time. And it really has grown over. This is some of the most abandoned areas. And this used to be completely clear. There's just grass here. And this one is the cottage that you guys used to stay in. I have pictures from being in this patio, and wow. In a way, it feels like this place hasn't been touched in 20 years, and in the meantime, you know, it's basically nature has overwhelmed it. The heater was never a thing that we messed with. And I forget which room we slept in. I think this one, honestly, because it's got a double bed. Your folks slept in separate beds. And there is not much here. It's just kind of broken down. The ceiling has fallen in. There are bills sitting here on the table, probably from the last time. We did visit here once, and I think we remember seeing some of these papers, boxes of papers. I don't know if it's bills or what it is, but it's all, you know, kind of gone downhill since then. Some things are still here. Some things are just, well, it's all beyond salvaging, let's face it. The old shower. Oh my gosh. This place has really gone to seed. Hey, it's not a surprise, because when it's not attended to, nature takes its course and everything just breaks down. Wow. Huh. There used to be a really big tree here. I think your dad set up a swing for Daniel to swing on when he was little. And you used to climb it even when you were little. I still think I have a picture of that somewhere in amongst some of your parents' artwork. I was hoping to hang it somewhere in the house, and somehow it got lost in amongst everything, and we never found it when Jan and I were purging the house. So presumably it's still there. It's just, it hasn't been thrown out, but it hasn't been found either. You look like Peppermint Patty with that green striped shirt of yours in the picture he drew. Jim Bretz had a few other cabins here, but also a couple of trailers. I remember staying here one time when it was just too much for your folks to deal with, the three of us and the two of them in one place. So we rented an extra place. I remember bringing a computer or two, as well as a whole box full of VHS tapes, because that was a thing, and a television, I think. I can't remember if we used our television or if they had a television there that wasn't useful for anything. But yeah, this is interesting that I don't think the last time we were here we found this road here. To be fair, it's not much of a road, it is just tracks in the wilderness, but it's still there. I don't think it had quite this much definition the last time we tried to find this place. On the other hand, there are a few reminders that we're in relatively unclaimed territory. Don't know if any of the Bretz heirs ever did anything with this place or claimed this land. I'm sure I'm walking on private property, but I haven't actually encountered a no trespassing sign from this direction that I've gone. So I figure I'm going to feel free to reminisce a little bit as we go along. But at this point, I'm kind of also walking out of the area that was once ours to visit and call home for a week every summer. Okay, so here we're getting to the point where I think we decided, hey, wait a minute, there is no road here. Okay, so from this direction, I think we're starting to realize how, if we were coming from the road, we wouldn't have been able to see, oh, this is the way to the Bretz cottages, because it's basically been overgrown. There's nothing there to indicate that there's a place to go to at this point. And the road goes on from here to other properties further on up, and probably dead ends close to the airport. Meanwhile, behind me is what I believe was Jim Bretz's own house. But of course, since he's not been there for almost 20 years, it's been abandoned and boarded up. And since I've never been in that, I'm not going to make the mistake of trying to wander around in that. That's left for other folks who make a practice of visiting abandoned places. Normally these things wouldn't be of any interest to me because I really don't know what's going on. But with the Bretz cottage, well, that was a place we would stay. You more often than me, because of course you grew up there, and also because there were years when I didn't have a whole lot in the way of vacation time, and sometimes I'd be going somewhere with the rest of my family, and so that used up my week or 2 weeks that I'd had at the time. So there were times when you and Daniel went to meet up with your folks, and that was it. So I don't have the same connection to the Bretz cottages, but I do remember them. I mean, we were there until 2004, I guess. And we thought we'd keep going there pretty much forever. But things happen. Your folks, I think, decided it in 2000 that they were too old for this stuff and said they weren't going at all. At which point you tried to persuade me to just the three of us going, which actually worked for a while. And then, of course, Jim was in an accident and we didn't really know what to do and tried to find another place to stay. You found the bed and breakfast up on the north end of the island in 2005, and then I think it was called the Meier cottages in the middle of the island in 2006, which was okay, but they really had an infestation of mosquitoes, if nothing else. It was not pleasant, and of course, since you were so big on going swimming as well as going fishing, the lack of access to the lake was a major turnoff. So yeah, you were thrilled to find this place, especially considering that it was owned by basically the man everybody knows here on the island and is friends with and so forth. He was more than happy to get a new tenant for a week every year, and sometimes two. I think I remember at least one year when we were furloughed to try and cut costs, and we spent 2 weeks here. I think it was 2009. And all things seemed to be working out until they weren't. You know, between the pandemic and your accident, and 2020 was the end of the line for us. This is the first time we've been here since then, and in some ways not much has changed, and in other ways I'm seeing how much has changed. But now it's just about time to say goodbye. Tomorrow is your birthday, and tomorrow I'm gonna get back in that water and set you adrift like you said you wanted to be. Till then, keep an eye on me, honey, and wish me luck. I'm gonna need it.